So Jude now is going on to say, and he's making some references to Jewish history to try to prove a point. And his purpose in this, I think, is to point out that a man's profession or a woman's profession of faith doesn't really establish him or her as righteous before God. Now, the one example in verse 5, he says that I want to remind you that though you once knew this, that the Lord, having saved the people out of the land of Egypt, afterwards destroyed those who did not believe. Okay, he saved them all out of there, right? Okay, but they didn't all make it to the promised land, right? Because, matter of fact, right, because they did not believe. As a matter of fact, everybody except Joshua and Caleb, and the kids, the youngsters made it, but of other than Joshua and Caleb, all of those people died in the wilderness. They did not make it to the promised land because of their unbelief. Now God delivered them all, okay? So they were all his children, okay, so to speak, or they're all his children, but some of them didn't believe, and so they didn't make it. So the point is that just because you profess belief doesn't establish you as righteous before God. Okay? So, and be careful with that. So, and we're talking about false teaching and false teachers, right? So the point is, just because someone professes that or says that doesn't mean that. So you got to look at some stuff, right? You got to look at some other stuff. And he uses an example of in verse 6, he uses the example of the angels, right, who erred from their calling. They were there with God. Right?
You got some that have been changed right now.
Right. Who didn't keep unchanged, and they're there. They're chained right now, and awaiting the final judgment. Right? It talks about Sodom and Gomorrah, okay? And that's an example of divine judgment. It's executed by fire. Okay? So their fate, the angels and the fate of the people in Sodom and Gomorrah, is kind of a foretaste of the fate of, in the way this is the way Jude is putting this together, right? It's kind of a foretaste of the fate of professing believers who do not persevere in righteousness. Now, just as kind of an aside, I don't want to get into this because we could get really crazy with this. When Jude talks about the angels, okay, some people think he was quoting from a book that's not a part of the Bible. Okay, right? One apostle. Yeah. Well, there's one called the Book of Enoch. And in the Book of Enoch, there's a lot of stuff written about what are called the Watchers. Okay, and if you saw the movie Noah, which was which was really not real biblical, but they talk about the Watchers. Okay, and
it was demonic.
Yeah, right. They talk about watching, but that's what they think he's talking about. That's what they reference. That's what the reference that they believe that the Jude is referencing, which doesn't mean that's the point I'm making. It doesn't mean that stuff that's not in the Bible doesn't have some merit. Okay. It also doesn't mean that the Book of Enoch was inspired either.
Right.
Okay.
So it wasn't inspired by God to be written as part of the Holy Bible. But some of it in there is true, ain't it?
Yes. Oh, yes. There's truth. There's truth in it. There's truth.
Just like in the book. Just like in the book of.
There's some truth. There's some truth in it. Right.
There's some real truth. Just like in the book of Maccabees, there's some real truth.
Right.
They were Jewish. They were Jewish people that broke away from the hypocrisy of what the people was trying to get to them, and they came up with their own.
Right, and the description about the argument between with well, we'll get that one in a minute. Okay, we talk about Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay, and in verse 8,
But
Go ahead.
wait.
Sorry.
Oh, it's not those angels you're talking about. It is actually a group of angels that are
Right.
in chains.
That are
Yes,
in
are in
chains
chains.
right
Right.
now.
They are in chains right now. Right. Correct.
Right.
And so this is the reference that we think
It's
that.
not the watch.
Right. No. The Watchers is there's a lot of stuff in the book of Enoch that's kind of whacked out. But but Jude. But the point is, Jude may have though been using some information, okay, from this book, if there were writings. That's what the belief maybe is. Okay? Now, the other part, that's why I didn't want to get into all of this. The other part of this is he may also have been using, there's a couple of verses in Zechariah that deal with God rebuking angels. So he might have been using. That's why I didn't want to get into this. But the point I was wanted to make is that Jude talks about some angels, okay, that were kicked out, okay, and they were there with God. So the point is, don't look at the appearance. It's what I'm saying. The appearance of righteousness doesn't mean it's real. Okay.
Having the form of God.
And denying his power. Right.
That's what it is.
Right. So verse 8 kind of tells you a little bit about these people. Verse 8 says, likewise also these dreamers defile the flesh, reject authority, okay? Speak evil of dignitaries. All right. So they had, what he's saying is these false teachers, okay, are irreverent, and they're rejecting the authority of Christ and the apostles, right? So for us, we want to make sure that we're careful if someone is rejecting biblical authority, because there are people that will say the Bible is not true, or the Bible has conflict, and those kinds of things, right? And so they're actually rejecting the biblical authority. So we need to be careful about those kinds of people when they come in and teach or preach, all right? Right.
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 They're teaching that in the colleges and undermining the Word of God.
Yep.
They have a course, they teach the Bible as literature.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
And that's actually okay, because it is.
It is.
It is. It's inspired.
Right. But then
But it
now
is.
try to philosophize
Right.
God and
Correct.
bring God down to man's level.
Right. So we have to be careful for that, and we hear a lot that happens a lot then when people coming out, young people, or people coming out of seminaries sometimes, all right, who and they're before people. So we have to contend for the faith, but you got to recognize it first of all, and this is what Jude is trying to give us, so we can recognize error and false teaching when rejecting authority, okay, and the irreverent, and Jude amplifies the reverence thing by citing this thing about Michael and the devil, right? That and his point is that even Michael, okay, did not. What is it? Let's read the verse. Let's read the verse.
He didn't call judgment on
Right.
him.
Yep. Michael the archangel, in contending with the devil when he was disputed about the body, dared not bring against him a reviling accusation. Okay. So that's the point of false teachers. Okay, will argue against authority, and he's saying even Michael the angel did not do that when there was a contention over the body of Moses. Right? Okay, and this probably came from something called the Assumption of Moses. By the way, this which that Jude is right. That's another book.
That's another. Why would we read those other books? If
For
they
information.
are just for
Right,
information.
Yes.
right. They're not
Inspired.
not inspired, because if they were inspired, they would probably be included in the
the
canon,
Bible,
right?
right,
Mhm.
right.
But it doesn't mean though that there is not information. Oh, it also
So we line it up. We line up what we read in those other books with
the
this.
Bible.
right.
Right,
But
but that's how, because we were saying, you guys were saying that some of the stuff is true,
Right.
but not all of it.
Right.
So the things that aren't true is not going to line up.
It won't
with
line
what
up,
this
correct.
word
But
is
Right.
it
saying.
does give tremendous historical
Information.
Gives-
Right.
right,
perspective,
right,
and
right,
it puts stuff
right.
in
And-
sort of chronology.
Right.
Okay.
You can-
Oh,
you
okay,
can
got
put
it.
Right.
And gives you
Right.
understanding,
And the other thing is this to understand. Paul cites a lot of stuff in the Bible,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Okay. And he cites it though in symbolic areas
Right,
some kind.
exactly.
And so, and if you go back sometime and read the exact thing that Paul wrote, and you would think, why did he write this? But he's using it to make a point. Okay,
Exactly.
and that's what we think. If you look at literature that's not biblical literature, right? If you look at it, you can use it to make a point, and that's what Jude was doing here. He was making a point about rejecting authority. These people would reject authority, and here's the story. Now, and what's important though is he's writing this letter to people who are aware of the stuff he's writing about. Okay? So the people who were reading his letter would be aware of this contention with Michael and with Moses. They would be reading it. If they were Jews, okay, there was Jewish literature that talked about that. Okay? Because they found pieces of this assumption, but they haven't found the whole thing. But they found pieces of this assumption of Moses document which
Right.
says it. And it's an old document. So that's the point. So, but Jude is using this stuff as examples to these people as to how to identify somebody who is a false teacher. And that's what I want.
But you
What I'm trying to do.
these were warnings really for of the history to the ungodly, and I know
Right.
I'm sure he was writing to Christians, but he was really pointing this out. This first section to the ungodly, to warn them. Look at what has happened before, and if you continue doing it, this is going to happen.
Yeah, right. It is a warning to them, right? Now, and to the ungodly, Jude's letter is to Christians, but it is a warning to the ungodly. Correct. That's a good point. Good point. Okay. And then so let's read in verse 11, which we read, says, "Woe to them, for they have gone the way of Cain and have run the greedily error of Balaam and prophet in the rebellion of Korah." So what he's saying now is there's more example of what's going to happen to these people. The example, Cain is one who's typical of unrighteousness. Remember, Cain killed his brother Abel. Okay, Balaam, okay, is an example of a person who is deceit, the covetousness, because he and deceitfulness. He went to he took a bribe, right, to go and curse the people of Israel. It turned out he didn't. He blessed them, but his motive was wrong because he wanted the money, right? And Korah is an example of rebellion. Okay, so these people are unrighteous. They're greedy. Okay, and they are rebellious, rebelling against authority. Because remember the story about Korah. Remember, Korah got 250 folk or so to rebel against the authority of Moses and Aaron when they were in. Korah said, "Hey, we're all children of God.
That's right.
So why are you taking authority?" And it's a long story short, but in the end, okay, Korah and his 250 people were destroyed. And after that, 14,700 people were killed as a result of Korah's
See the ground
rebellion.
stand up.
right?
Opened up,
Open up.
Open up, swallowed them, right? And then, but then after that, remember the next day, the people said, Why did you do this to people of God?" And boom, there's a plague, and 14,000 people died.
No.
Right? Okay. So that's rebellion. So these people are rebellious. Okay, and real quick, and so these are the kinds of sins now: rebellion, unrighteousness, and being covetous. The covet, which is idolatry, right? Okay, are the kinds of sins that really undermine the church. Okay, undermine the spiritual health of the church, and actually destroys the people who practice them. So let's read verses 12 and 13. Jude 12 and 13. Here's how he's describing these people now. 12 and 13.
These are spots in your love feast, while they feast with you without fear, serving only themselves. They are clouds without water, carried about by the wind. Late autumn trees without fruit, twice dead, pulled up by the roots. Raging waves of the sea, forming up their own shame. Wandering stars, from whom is reserved the blackness of darkness forever.
Okay, so Jude's now giving some metaphors of what these people, when they're spots or rocks. Okay, which and of course rocks are dangerous. Some of the they call rocks or spots or reefs.
Reefs.
Okay, so they're dangerous. Rocks are dangerous. They can sink ships. Same kind of thing. Okay, so the selfish behavior of these people is a great danger. They're clouds without water. He describes as clouds without water. It means clouds promise rain, but they don't produce any rain. Okay. So there's no value. There's no value. They're trees without fruit. Okay, trees that produce no fruit are dead. Right? Okay.
Doubly dead.
Right? They're like raging waves, which can be dangerous. Okay, and never stop. James talk about being tossed to and fro with waves. So that's kind of, if you follow these people, are wandering stars. So they're useless. These are metaphors that Jude is using for listening to and following these kinds of people. And then in verses 14 and 15, what's it say? Anybody?
Now Enoch, the seventh from Adam, prophesies about these men also, saying, Behold, the Lord comes with 10,000 of his saints, to execute judgment on all, to convict all who are ungodly among them, all their ungodly deeds which they have committed in an ungodly way, and of all the harsh things which ungodly sinners have spoken against him. Okay, so what he's saying is Enoch prophesied that here's what's going to happen to these kind of people, to these people who do this, who teach false teaching and false doctrine and are ungodly. Okay, this is what's going to happen. God's going to execute judgment on them for the things that they've spoken against him.
When people say they're searching the Bible and talk about they've looked at the Bible and come up with love to do the things that they're doing, I don't know how they miss it.
I don't see how they.
Really? How you miss all this?
Right. Yep. And so we're gonna have to finish up next week, but we'll think more about and read Jude. But it's what Jude is saying is we've got to fight, contend for the faith, because you have people in now. Okay, and he was talking about then for sure, but for sure now. But he's saying here's how these people are. Here's what's going to happen to them, so we can identify them and we can contend